Namna Rinam Pururujam Ruja Ashuhanti. Yagne Chamagam Amrita Yurava Varunda. Ayushya Veda Manusha Savatirya Loke. Anvantarisham Eva Kirti. Yagne Chabhagam Amrtaya Rava Varunda. Ayushya Veda Manushastavatira Loke. Okay, we'll do word to word. Dhanvantiraha, the incarnation of God named Dhanvantari. Cha, and Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Swayam Eva, personally himself. Kirtihi, fame personified. Namna, by the name. Rinam Pururajam, of the diseased living entities. Rujaha, diseases. Ashu, very soon. Hanti, cures. Yagne, in the sacrifice. Cha, also. Bhagam, share. Amrita, nectar. Ayuhu, duration of life. Ava, from. Avarunde, obtains. Ayushya, of duration of life. Vedam, knowledge. Anushati, directs. Avatirya, incarnating. Loke, in the universe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Please hear. The Lord in His incarnation of Dhanvantari very quickly cures the diseases of the ever-diseased living entities simply by His fame personified, and only because of Him do the demigods achieve long lives. Thus, the personality of Godhead becomes very glorified. He also exacted a share from the sacrifices, and it is He who inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe. Purport, please hear. As stated in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, everything emanates from the ultimate source of the personality of Godhead. It is therefore understood in this verse that medical science or knowledge in the medicine was also inaugurated by the personality of Godhead in His incarnation Dhanvantari, and thus the knowledge is recorded in the Vedas. The Vedas are the source of all knowledge, and thus knowledge in medical science is also there for the perfect cure of the diseases of all living entity. The embodied living entity is diseased by the very construction of his body. The body is a symbol of diseases. The disease may differ from one variety to another, but disease must be there just as there is birth and death for everyone. So by the grace of the personality of Godhead, not only are diseases of the body and mind cured, but also the soul is relieved of the constant repetition of birth and death. The name of the Lord is also called Bhavusadi, or the source of curing the disease of material existence. Okay, we'll do Mangalacharya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Janashalakya Kshurun Militam Nye Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Ti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakamelam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Shnapadan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishava Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavalebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhuter Mahatpir Yahima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamoshu Purusha Bhungte Gunansho Dashasho Dashatmaka Sholam Krishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Gathamritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Canto 2, Chapter 7, Verse 21, which is about the pastime of Lord Dhanvantari. So, Lord Dhanvantari is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who appeared during the great churning of the cosmic milk ocean. And he came with a nectar pot, and he later gave the knowledge of medical science, known as Ayurveda now, to mankind, and this was billions and billions of years ago. So we'll talk about the two types of incarnations first. So there's a Prabhava and Vaibhava incarnation. So the Vaibhava and Prabhava forms of Lord Hari exhibit progressively less potency than the Paravasta forms. So both the Prabhava and Vaibhava forms of the personality of Godhead reveal less the Lord's glory than the Para forms. So the Vaibhava incarnations appear with more potency than the Prabhava incarnations. So the Prabhava incarnations are divided into two categories, which are revealed in the scriptures. One kind does not remain manifest for a very long time and does not gain much renown. And the second kind, this kind includes Mohini and Hamsa, as well as Shukla and other Yuga incarnations. The other kind is the Prabhava incarnation. This incarnation compiles scriptures and acts in the role of a sage. So this includes Dhanvantari, Rishabha, Vyasa, Kapila, etc. So in the Puranas, it is recorded that Lord Dhanvantari actually appeared twice. The first time was during the churning of the milk ocean, which was in the it's part of this kalpa, which is 1 day of Brahma, and that is equivalent to 4.32 billion Earth years. So he first appeared in the 6th Manu, which is known as the Chakshusha Manu, and this is where he rose from the churning of the milk ocean. He came with 2 arms, a dark blue complexion, and initiated the teachings of Ayurveda. Then he appeared for the second time in the 7th Manu, which is known as the Vaishvasvata Manu, as the prince of Varanasi, as a son of the king of Kashi. So the details of this, they're all found in the Lagu Shavas Bhagavatamrita. So during this pastime of the churning of the milk ocean, the Lord Dhanvantari, the first teacher of medical science, he appeared to deliver the nectar to the demigods and the demons' endeavor for churning the ocean. So at that point, the demons immediately seized the pot of nectar from the Lord's hands, And to recover it, the Supreme Lord had to appear as in another form, which is disguised as a female, which is the next one. So it is said that Tesham Satya Kalanartham Harir Danvantira Vibuhu Samarthopi Ashunam Astu Swahastad Amucha Swadham. So it is said that Dhanvantari, he was carrying the jug of nectar, but he was the Lord. So he was actually stronger than the demons, even though the demons seized the nectar away. But it was because the Lord wanted to show the next pastime of Mohini that he let the demons take the he let the demons take the nectar. So for example, I was just listening to Lal Govind Prabhuji. He gives an example of so who's the person that makes the most mistakes in Bhagavatam? Anyone? Who? Indra. So Indra, he always gives the example that Indra had his his Raj taken from him by Bali Maharaj. And at that point, Krishna had to, even though Indra's made so many mistakes, the difference between Indra and a human being who makes a lot of mistakes is that Indra repents straight away. And he goes up to the person that he made a mistake to, offers obeisances, and and we don't like to accept when we're wrong. So the example is that Indra is always making mistakes, yet when his Raj was taken, because the Lord himself became a beggar in the form of Vamandev, just so that Indra could get his Raj back. So it shows that the Lord can go into different ways to help his devotees. So in this form, he released the nectar, even though he was powerful enough to hold the nectar with him. And in that form, he became a beggar just so that his devotee could get the Raj. So when the nectar was taken, the demigods were upset, and they went to they seek shelter from the Supreme Lord, and thus Lord Dhanvantari then caused a quarrel between the demons, and they started fighting over who's going to drink the nectar first. So in Bhagavatam it says, Aham Purvam, me first, Natvam iti Prabhu, not you. So that was the fight that the demons were having. So it is said that it is a symptom, that this is the symptom of all demons. The first concern of a non-devotee is how to enjoy his personal sense gratification at once, whereas a devotee's first concern is to satisfy the Lord. So this is the distinction between non-devotee and a devotee. In the material world, since most people are non-devotees, they regularly compete and fight. They disagree amongst each other, and there's always a small war, as they say. So they fight, they disagree, they fight amongst each other, and at the end, for everyone, they want to enjoy and satisfy their own senses. So therefore, we are basically demons in this world. We're always fighting, we're always arguing with each other for a little bit of sense gratification. So it is said, therefore, unless such demons become Krishna conscious and are trained to satisfy the senses of the Lord, there is no question of peace in human society or in any society, even that of the demigods. The demigods and the devotees, however, they always surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus the Lord is always anxious to satisfy their ambitions. While the demons, they fight to satisfy their own needs, their own senses, and thus, on the opposite hand, devotees engage in devotional service to please the Lord. So, Prabhupada says that the members of the Krishna conscious movement must be alert in regard to this point, and that their preaching of the Krishna conscious, then their preaching of the Krishna conscious movement will be successful. So, Dhanvantari and Mohini, the next pastime, they're described in the first canto. It is said that in the 12th incarnation of the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th, he allured the atheists by charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink. So we know the that the Vedas are, they represent knowledge. The word Veda means knowledge. So therefore, any knowledge that anyone can ever want can be found in the Vedas. But it's spread over different genres. You can find knowledge on agriculture, medical science, or any other mundane or spiritual topic. But that makes it difficult for one to understand the essence of the Vedas. So it is said, so Darshan Krishna Prabhu actually told me this. He said that we need to approach the Vedas for the right topic. Otherwise, if we read or if we engage in the wrong topic, we thus get knowledge on that topic, and then we get our path is going on another direction. We become more interested in that topic rather than the real topic. So that's why it is said that we need to know what we want and what we need, and thus we should read on that knowledge. So it is said that it is impossible to do this without the mercy of devotees, because they are like, this is another quote, they say that they are like lamps enlightening the true essence of knowledge. So devotees make the information in the Vedas available in a concise way, where they tell us what we need to know, which is what's it called? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us through the movement, Sankirtan movement, we know what we need to do, which is all concise. The whole Vedas have been concise in that one thing, that you have to do this, you get the highest reward. So it is said that real knowledge is the devotional service aspect of the Vedas. So Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he says that the power that we have, the knowledge and the influence that we have are beautiful gifts from God and must be utilized to serve each other unconditionally. So we come back to the main topic of that we have, which is service, that we always come back to that. So what knowledge that we gather, it's used to serve the devotees in a better way. And not to gain knowledge to improve our own material satisfaction, but rather to gain knowledge for spiritual advancement, but not just spiritual advancement, but for a small period of time, but for eternity. So when we see Lord Dhanvantari, he was the founder of Ayurveda and the knowledge of medical science. So let's take COVID, which is a topic right now, for example. So if you tell someone that you chant this mantra and COVID will go away, so they will look at you in a weird way, like, what's wrong with you? But the fact is, this is true. If one is chanting, if they live, then okay, that's a good positive aspect. If they die, at least they died chanting the names of the Lord. So either way, it's good. So we get that example that of Ajamil, that he, just by chanting, he got that stage of having another chance at having another chance. So that shows us that even that was at the last stage of his life, that he just called out once and then he got another chance to chant more and before he can go back to Godhead. So the second thing is that many medicines are offered in this world to cure all sorts of material illnesses, but people argue that the religious societies and everything, they should put more money towards building hospitals or funding those types of things rather than building temples and stuff. So once Prabhupada in an interview was asked this, he said, the interviewer asked that, why don't you build more hospitals or donate more to charity and all that? And Prabhupada said that hospitals only fix material illnesses. Temples fix spiritual illnesses for eternity. So when we go to a hospital, when we're sick, that's only temporary fixture. Like we get fixed for a temporary time. But when we come to a temple, it's the eternal benefit that we get from the temple. That's what makes the temple special. So the fact in actuality is that KC is the only thing, or Krishna consciousness is the only thing that can cure death, because it is the highest spiritual medicine. It solves and cures our spiritual disease as such. And it turns out that the disease we have is because of our material existence, which is because of all our desires and everything. So, thus, this is considered the highest form of medicine and knowledge. So, the second thing is that many medicines are offered in this world to cure all sorts of material illnesses, but people argue that the religious societies and everything, they should put more money towards building hospitals or funding those types of things rather than building temples. So So we think about knowledge. So I have an example. One of my friends from high school, he was very good with his general knowledge in like everything. So he would know the names of the recent Hollywood, Bollywood, every actor, producer, like every person's name. He knew everyone's name in any sport. You literally told him, and he would know the names. And at that time, I couldn't even remember like small things. So I used to always think, oh, if only I had that memory. But then, now that I think about it, like I feel less impressed by his knowledge, because you think about it, we learn Krishna consciousness, which it's meant to produce good character and ultimately devotion to God. So the so-called knowledge of this world, it's incomplete. Because the knowledge in this world keeps changing continuously, and what is true today will no longer be true tomorrow. So the greater your memory, the greater your capacity to retain information, and the greater will be your reputation as a knowledgeable person. That's what I said. But the knowledge about this world is just simple data. It's not we have questions that arise from this. We say, how can such everlasting, ever-changing information help us attain anything which is permanent when the information itself is changing? We see, how can such knowledge help us solve real problems of life, namely, like what we always say, birth, death, old age, disease, and death. So I think about how is that, knowing the names of all the Bollywood actors, the producers, how is that going to help him when he's about to die? Like, you think about it, like it's not right. So, like, I've said this in a few weeks back as well, that Bhakti Vikas Swami says a very funny thing, that the mundane educational qualifications or general knowledge, it's all useless because they have no use for spiritual advancement. So he literally calls all university degrees, all TAFE, anything, all knowledge which is not related to Krishna, useless. So in one sentence, he's destroyed everyone's pride and everything, that I have a university degree, I have a master's degree, everything. So it is said that material knowledge is jada vidya, and knowledge of inert matter, while spiritual knowledge is called paravidya, or knowledge of transcendence. So jada vidya helps us use the body and live in this material world, but paravidya can help us attain liberation from the material world and can take us to the eternal, blissful spiritual world. So knowledge of the spirit is considered transcendental because it can free us from the conditional material existence that we're in now. So the material world, it's sometimes called Bhava Sangara, or the ocean of birth and death. So it is said that if a man falls into an ocean, he can never cross the ocean alone, no matter how skilled a swimmer he may be. So, but if he can get the help of a boat or any type of transport along that ocean, he can save himself from drowning. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 4.26, he says that transcendental knowledge is like the boat that can help you cross the mundane ocean of nescience, which is this verse is api ched asi papebhya sarvabhya papakrittamaha sarvaha jnana pallavenena nirjanam santanasyasi. So it says that even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, so that's already, the starting is very like it tells you, like if you're the most sinful of all the sinners, it says when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, which isn't our mundane education or anything, it's the knowledge of the Vedas, the knowledge of chanting and everything that is in this movement that we're in right now, then we'll be able to cross the ocean of all miseries. So it's just a summary of what we need to do in one verse. So it says, actually, our stay in this material world is caused by material desires. But the root cause of these material desires, by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he says that it's avidya or ignorance. We don't want to accept what is right. We, like we said, like the demons, we're all demons because we always want to be right, even though if we have no idea if we're true or not, what we're saying is right. So he says that it's because of avidya, ignorance, which is defined as forgetfulness of the truth. And what's the truth? That I am the eternal servant of Sri Krishna and Sri Krishna's devotees. We think that Lal Govind Prabhuji says funny that you go to the temple once and you think yourself as a big sadhu. Oh, I went to the temple today. But the fact is, when you look at the past, people did tapasya, which is one of the things that we need to do in this modern era in the form of Sankirtan Yagna. But if we do tapas, you see people in the past, they did tapasya for 50,000 years, standing on one leg in every weather, with their hands above their heads or not talking. And then we're here saying, I went to the temple once and I'm a great sadhu. So we see that comparison, the ignorance that we have in this era alone, in Kali Yuga, that if we look at the splitting of the time periods in the Brahma's one day, and we see that Kali Yuga has the smallest portion, but it's probably the most devastating part, that people these days are so ignorant. So once Lal Govind Prabhuji he said another story. He said when one goes to the temple, when one rich person once, he went to a temple with his car, and he saw the temple, he pushed the horn, and he said, the Lord has seen that I was here, and then he just left. So then when he was about to die, when he went to with Yamaraj, he went to Narak, and it is said that Krishna and Radharani came in a Mercedes as well, horned, said I'm here, and just left as well. So it shows the mentality of people these days. So I'll finish off with this point. It is said that transcendental knowledge revives our lost memory of being a servant of Krishna. Therefore, it can immediately award us liberation from the ocean of birth and death, which shouldn't be our final goal, not liberation, but rather that through a devotional service we develop Krishna Prem for Krishna, and then thus we can go back to Vaikuntha. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, the Gaur.